Hey everyone, and welcome to the fourth and for now final episode in our How to Choose a Gang for Necromunda. I say for now because there is no reason, GW, why you can't go and make loads more cool gangs for this series. But at present, these 4 episodes together should have outlined how to choose a gang for Necromunda, explaining the key mechanics in the first episode, the house gangs in the second episode, the non-house gangs in the third episode, and in this episode, we're going to be looking at the independent open play gangs. I haven't got a better name for them, but what these are the gangs where GW offers you a series of options underneath the gang to try and create whatever the heck you like. And these 3 gangs offer you this choice in their own unique ways. First up, you've got the Helot Gangs, where you get to make your own group of crazed chaos cultists, all in service to their dark and ruinous powers that exist within the warp. Get weird, get powerful, and then you've got the Venetors Gangs, which allow you to make your own set of vigilantes, bounty hunters, or whatever kind of tight-knit mercenary crew that you can think of. And finally, my favourite, the Outcast Gangs, where you get to design your own style of enigmatic leader who will go around taking the waifs and strays of the Underhive and giving them a reason to fight in the cold and heartless void that is the 41st millennium. So those are the gangs we're going to be looking at today. So really, there's nothing else more to do than roll the damn tape. Do you want to add more chaos into the already crazed world of Necromunda? Then can I recommend you look no further than the worshippers of the 4 ruinous powers themselves, the Helot Gangs. Now obviously this gang is going to be highly thematic, and GW doesn't disappoint by offering you so many boons from your dark and defiling gods in the form of weird powers and dark rituals, and we'll talk about them later. So the gang makeup is usually about having a small set of top tier leaders and then loads and loads and loads of grunts. So numbers game aplenty here. Now those leaders are super cool. There are 3 champion choices to choose from and all of them are great, but they all get access to cunning and ferocity skills. And this is really about the theme of their gameplay, because it's all about infiltration and fierce attacks. And it's in balancing those 2 together where the fun really starts to happen. Because you're going to have some really overpowered, cool leaders that can do some really awesome things, and then loads of grunts that just go wild and crazy. And finding that level is so much fun. So that's the gang makeup, but I'm sure you want to hear a bit more about those dark and defiling powers that will be bestowed upon you from the gods. Because that's the more fun stuff, right? Okay, well, first up we've got dark rituals. Yeah, I'm gonna do this a lot. I'm so sorry. Anyway, those dark rituals, they happen at the end of every game. You get to roll some dice, apply some modifiers, you can maybe even use a cultist of your own or someone you've captured as a focus, and you try and hit a certain number on your boon list to get a particular boon from your particular dark and defiling god of choice. Fail that roll, however, and that cultist may become a crazed demon spawn in the next game. So, win-lose, win-win, depends how you look at it. Then you've got the weird powers, which you get if you choose the Cult Witch option, which I don't know why you wouldn't, because who doesn't want all the warp-tainted magic they like to decimate their foes and deliver their bodies as offering to the dark and defiling gods? Anyway, getting a bit carried away there. If you go for weird powers, there are 3 types. There is warp strength, levitation, and maddening visions. All really thematic, all add a load to the gameplay, so if it's your kind of bag, I definitely recommend choosing them. So with all that gameplay stuff, I think it's obviously worth noting that you can have so much fun painting, modelling, kit bashing this gang because it's so thematic, and there are so many cool models out there for making cultists, and I can think of loads of other games out there that you can steal from to put together to make these gangs. So I recommend it if that is something you find really interesting, but again, that is the same with all the gangs in this series. In conclusion, in terms of gameplay, I'd say it comes down to, do you like running the gauntlet of the ruinous powers? Do you want to fight with both prowess and rage? Then I can't recommend this gang highly enough. So the Venetors gang is the first of 2 gangs that really speaks to that every model is a Necromunda model, because you can take whatever the heck you like and hodgepodge it together to create the gang of your dreams or nightmares. So the baseline idea for this gang is to make bounty hunters, vigilantes and mercenary types. And I think that's what separates it from the Outcast gang, because in the Outcast you create an individual enigmatic leader who has a load of followers. In this, they're more at the same level, and it's a group of individuals that work cohesively as a whole. So in that, they're a little bit more like enforcers, while the Outcasts are a little bit more like the Helots. Now, saying that, you don't have to go down that thematic route, because there are so many options available to you when building this gang that you can still make whatever the heck you like. For example, and the best example, is that each level of gang fighter has 4 different stat build options that offer you each a different type of playstyle. The first one is more flat across the board and versatile build. The second one offers you more toughness in exchange for less speed. The third one is all about close combat melee fighting, and the fourth one is all about shooting. Now hopefully that proves to you how versatile and open-ended this gang is, because you don't have to just choose the one ganger stat throughout. You can mix and match, pick and choose to develop whatever gameplay you desire. So not only is this an open-ended gang in terms of what models you use, it's open-ended in determining what type of gameplay style you want. Now further that, it can get really deep and interesting with this gang by making a gang list that's so versatile that you can swap in and out different gangers to make a better gameplay mechanic to go against other gangs. But I think that needs to be saved for a much larger episode. For now, I think the only thing I want to add is it lacks the weird powers of the Outcast, and I think that's the only thing that gives me the edge of the Outcast in terms of ultimate versatility and open-ended gameplay. And to add to that versatility, they get near full access to the weapons list and can affiliate with one of the house gangs to get access to their list and specialisms. I would suggest that's expanded to all the non-house gangs, but you just need to speak to your arbitrator about that. Now at the end of each gang, you will notice I normally say, now this is why you would choose this gang. But for the Venetors, that's so hard to do until we've talked about the Outcasts. Because if you're coming to Necromunda with the intention of building whatever gang you like, really the choice comes down to those 2 gangs. And I can't tell you why you would choose this one over the other without explaining the subtle differences between the 2. So I will do that once we get to the end of the next gang, which is the Outcast gang. Like I mentioned in the Venetors before, this is another one of those build your own type of gangs. However, in this gang, you just get a little bit more meat on the bones to make it that little bit much more interesting. Unlike the Venetors though, you start this gang first and foremost with its leader, because it's from them that you build and develop the concept of the gang around. And for this, the Outcast gang offers you 5 archetypal options to choose from over the 4 you get in the Venetors. And they're a little bit different. In this, they're named Gunslinger, Brawler, Survivor, Mastermind, and Weird. I think they all speak for themselves, but it's really in Weird that the Outcast gives you something extra to play with. And that's not all, because these weird powers are the most diverse you'll find in the game, giving you more options in the form of disciplines than any other gang out there. And these disciplines are so thematic. You've got Biomancy, which is all about body modifications. You've got Chronomancy, which is all about messing with time. You've got Divination, which allows you to see in the future. You've got Pyromancy, which means you can just burn everything. You've got Technomancy, which means you can mess with tech. You've got Telekinesis, which means you can throw shit across the room. And Telepathy, which means you can mess with the minds of other gangers. I mean, they are so cool. So once your gang leader has chosen from one of those 7 disciplines, it is then filtered down throughout the gang, so there's none of this each gang are picking and choosing their own magical style, and I think that makes a lot of sense, because not only is it thematic to the idea that your gang leader defines the concept for the whole gang, but also it would probably be too overpowered with multiple different types of magical powers in one gang, and also you do want to start honing in and consolidating the theme and ideology of your gang, because it is really open-ended already. Now, as I said at the end of the Venetors gang, I was going to leave the part out as to why you would choose that gang until now, because it's not until we understood the Outcast gang that I can really offer you why it's that one over the other. Because if you're coming to Necromunda with the intention of making your own gang, it really comes down to a choice between those 2. And why do you want to make your own gang? Well, that could obviously be down to so many options. Maybe you just don't like any of the other gangs, maybe you've got loads of models you just don't know what to do with, or maybe you just like the idea of a creative endeavor and making your own gang from scratch with all these different options. However you come to it, for me, it's that creative freedom to allow my imagination to run wild and come up with the most weird and wonderful creations I can. And not only that, it makes it so much more personal and individual a gang. And in a game like Necromunda, which is already very narrative driven, very story heavy, as well as like so individual and personal in the gangs, because you only have like 8 to 10 characters that you get so acquainted with, rather than your big armies, that I think this is the epitome of what Necromunda is. It's about story, it's about creativity, and it's about just individual expression and having a lot of fun. I think Warhammer can do that in so many ways, but for me, Necromunda is like the pinnacle of that. So anyway, back to the decision between Venetors and Outcasts. I think you would choose Venetors if you're looking to make a gang that's more of a group of elites. I see it more like an inquisitorial party where you've definitely got a leader, but everyone's got a specific focus. It's much more controlled, more of a direct line, and everything's just much more ordered. Whilst if you're going to go for an Outcast gang, I see it more like supervillains. You've got one crazy, charismatic, dressed to the nines leader who may have a couple of henchmen or not, and then everyone else are just grunts and grimes who just hoard and chuck at everyone else. And it's much more wilder and much more chaotic, and I think that is the choice. But in each of them, you can definitely make whatever you like within those bounds. And so we've done it, we've finished our series looking at how to choose a gang in Necromunda. I hope you've enjoyed it and I hope it's been informative. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and tell me what gangs you're going to choose. And if you want to go deeper dive into any of these gangs, I can't recommend highly enough the articles on Goonhammer or any of the videos by Crimson Oracle or Wellywood Gaming. They are all fabulous and fantastic. In the meantime, next up will be our series when we deep dive into the lore of each of the gangs in turn, and all of you have voted. I think there's been over 50 votes when I last looked, and it looks like it's going to be the Eschers, so I'm really excited about it. It's lucky because they're one of the first ones I've written the script for, so that's great. But yeah, next week we're going to be looking at those, and if you're coming to this late, maybe I'll put a link up now for the playlist of when they're available, so if you want to find any of the gangs that you want to be playing now, maybe they're already up there. But if you want to know when that is, don't forget, please like, because that always helps the channel, but subscribe and get that bell so you can get the notification when maybe the gang that you've chosen comes up and you can hear all about the history and lore of that gang in our series to follow. But anyway, until next time, don't you forget to take care in the Underhive, and I'll see you then. Bye everyone.